What is going on, guys? Welcome to another live. We got a special talk today. I'm going to be bringing on one of my clients who is doing exceptionally well in his business to talk about business. So we're going to be bringing on my client, Nick Sarda, who's been doing over 10K per month for the last 3 months. So we actually hit 10K his first month in business, and he's been consistently hitting it ever since. But he's gone through a journey, as we all have. Entrepreneurship is a journey of the self. And so we're going to be bringing him in, sharing his knowledge, kind of talking about his experience starting his business, and also talking about his experience inside of the Personal Trainers Business Incubator. So we'll go ahead and wait until he jumps in, but I hope everyone is having a good week. Also, too, if you guys have questions, you guys are more than welcome to ask questions as we go along. I do want this to be an open discussion, and so if you guys have any questions, you can go ahead and drop them in the chat box, but he's going to be connecting here pretty soon. Wait a few more minutes. There he is. What's going on, man? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, dude.
How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good, man. So what we're going to talk about today is your personal journey as it comes through fitness and entrepreneurship. You have a very unique story because you're coming out of the military, which the way you describe it is like you went from being completely owned without even having control of your own soul to having total freedom on the opposite end. And I know that there was a lot of growing pains in that freedom. So I kind of want to talk about that and just also your experience growing your business.
Yeah, dude. So you pretty much, hit it on the head. Like being in the military, you're essentially like property of the US government. You're just another body in their massive people. And like, they tell you when to sleep, they tell you when to eat, they tell you when to work. And even when you're like out on your own, like you could get recalled back to work at any time. So like really your time is not your time. And because of that, I really learned the value of having my own time. And that's why like while I was going through it, I vowed, I was like, I am never, ever going to fucking work for someone else again. I'm never going to do something that I don't believe in, that I don't want to do, because time is way too precious. And, with your help, you made that a reality.
Awesome, man. So we're going to talk about your experience stepping into entrepreneurship here. I do have a list of questions that I want to dive into. But let's start with where you are today, right? So let's give the people kind of a rundown of the success that you've seen over the last few months and in your business. So, since starting your business in October and today, March, what has happened? What does your business look like? And kind of bring us up to speed on your current situation.
Oh, okay. Where do I begin? That's kind of that that we're doing this today, because today was the first day that I had my VA. So I hired a part-time VA to help me with lead generation, which is a pretty cool milestone because I'm now stepping into that CEO role and not just solopreneur, But yeah, so essentially we started October and I was getting close to getting out. January 6th was my last day before I started terminal leave with the Navy. And yeah, we kind of just hit the ground running, man. Like we knew, so previous to October, I was on deployment for a while, and me and my co-owner, Jake, we kind of just did like the business plan, the model. Luckily, my girlfriend Kendall, she's a super successful business coach and fitness coach as well. So she kind of gave us some tips and pointers on how to get like some of the systems up and running. And then it was really up to me and Jake to kind of figure out how we want to do our business model and what our ideal client was and everything like that. So when October came around, we pretty much had everything down packed. And then we kind of hit a wall in the sense that like we were like, all right, where do we go from here? Like, we have a few clients from people that we knew who knew that we knew, what we were talking about just from coaching people through the Navy. But, the lead generation process, like sales process, like all those other things, like they weren't firm. So then you came into the picture in November and really helped us out more than I could have expected, in the sense of like the mentality shift that goes behind being an entrepreneur. So it's like anything else, like being a fitness coach, we teach our clients like, hey, like you have to create this mental shift. Like the lifestyle you were before wasn't working, so you have to become this new person. And that's exactly what you have to do when starting a business. You need to multiple hats. You need to be a content creator. You need to be a coach. You need to be a business person. You need to be a salesperson. And you need to really step into all those powers if you want to be successful. So today, where we are now, we're doing, consistent 10K months. Hopefully, with this VA, start, increasing the profits a little bit more. I have a little more time on my hands to work on the business. And really, dude, like I'm so shocked at how far we've come so quickly, and I really think sky's the limit.
Dude, awesome. I really love the fact that you talked about the mental shifts that goes into entrepreneurship, which I kind of want to touch on. And there's also something that you mentioned a little bit earlier about, making the decision that you're never going to work for yourself again. Were you inherently entrepreneurial before you joined the military? Because I know you had a long life before you joined in the military, and then you spent 4 years in the military, and then after that you're like, fuck this, I'm never doing this again. So who were you before you made that decision? And did you have any entrepreneurial journeys or entrepreneurial tendencies, or is this all new?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I did this as a kid. You always see those kids on the side, like doing stands, just doing that, and I was all about making money, even at a young age. And so I did my lemonade stands. I did sell like old toys that I used to with friends and stuff. So like being I guess an entrepreneur was kind of in my mind, but I guess really what I wanted to be was like an investor. So at a pretty early on in my naval career, I started getting into investing because I met a few friends that were really good with it. And I just want to be a person who has his hands in like a multitude of income streams.
Dude, I love it. And I know you and I can go back and forth on investing all day long. I personally, so I talk about this a lot in my book, the book that I'm going to be coming out with here pretty soon. I actually started as an entrepreneurial to invest in, the stock market or invest in real estate. Being an investor is like the main goal. That's the one that's like, okay, that's the end goal. But in order to get the income to fund that goal, entrepreneurship and starting a business is the quickest way to do that, because if you want cash to be able to invest, owning your own business is the best thing that you could possibly do, because saving up a paycheck every other 2 weeks, that's brutal. That's a slow way to grow. But that's cool, man. I want to kind of tie it back to the start of your journey, the start of starting your business. You went from being absolutely owned to working for yourself full time. And I know that there was challenges along that growth. So what was that transition like, working full time for someone else to working for yourself full time? What was the transition look like?
Dude, it was a very weird time, because not only was I trying to like become an entrepreneur and stuff, I was trying to get back into the civilian world. So not having that nagging feeling that, I can't be doing this, I got to worry about work, 4 a.m. the next morning, all these things. It was weird not having my schedule planned out for me. So I think figuring out my time, like how to best manage my time and like my schedule, my morning routine, when I was going to work, when I was going to take calls, all of that was kind of just like a learning process. And, you definitely helped me out with that too. I remember a few of our one-on-one calls, we kind of mapped out what my schedule was going to look like, just because I was struggling a little bit. I think that would be the biggest thing. It was just, really figuring out what was the best time for me personally to maybe do my content creation, when during the day I was the most creative, and like when I wanted to hop on calls with people and be super social, because like throughout the day, everybody's different, you know what I mean? Like for an example, you might like to take your calls in the morning and then do your more relaxing stuff at night, whereas like I'm the exact opposite. So just figure it out.
Cool, man. Yeah, and I was actually just reading this book. So for anyone who is in this live or watching this live, this book, Nick, I'm gonna recommend you read this book too, because it's really cool. It talks about the behaviors behind building wealth and being successful, the behaviors behind compound interest and all that stuff. But one of the interesting things that I actually just read was like they were doing an interview of this, successful entrepreneur, and they said, what was the moment your life changed, right? What was the moment you became truly wealthy? And he was saying that the moment he became truly wealthy was when he was 22 years old. He was working in Manhattan, New York, and he had an apartment that was $1,000 per month, and he was only making $1,800 per month. And so he absolutely like lived very frugally underneath his means, saved up $800 a month until he eventually had $12,000. And when he had $12,000, he quit his job and was able to use the $12,000 to fund his musician career. And he said at that point, his entire life changed. And they're like, well, what about the time you sold your company and you made millions? And he says, well, nothing really changed other than money in the bank. When my life truly changed was when I was able to have all this free time to do what I actually wanted to do. Right? And I think that transition is really, really powerful, that people don't really talk about that enough, which I think is awesome. But moving on to the next question, I know it was a challenge for you, right? Moving into owning your own business and being in control of your own schedule. And we overcame that together. So what advice would you have for beginning entrepreneurs who are going from a 9 to 5 and transitioning into working for themselves full time? What advice would you give them?
Well, the first thing I want to do is, I would say is like, make sure it's something that you really want, because having that transition, you're going to have doubts, you're going to hit roadblocks, you're going to hit problems. And if you don't really want it bad enough, then you're not going to overcome those things. You know what I mean? It's just like going back to being a fitness coach and having clients. Like sometimes you just have those clients that like say they want it and they start the program and like they never show up for check-ins, they never adhere to their programming or anything like that. It's just make sure it's something that you really truly want, and it's a priority. Otherwise, you're never going to make it through like all the obstacles and challenges that you're going to face.
I love that.
The second thing. Make sure you're putting in the time, because it's not easy to be an entrepreneur. I think a lot of people see people like self-starters and like starting their own companies and X, Y, and Z, but they don't see these struggles behind the scenes. You know what I mean? It's putting a lot of time in. It's like making sacrifices, not going to parties, not drinking, so that like on Saturday morning, wake up and build a program or write a new course or whatever. There are a lot of sacrifices along the way, and you have to put in the time, just like anything else.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. I love that. Now, speaking of obstacles, you said you have to truly want this to be able to get through the obstacles in the way. Can you share some of the obstacles that you faced when starting this business, or maybe some of the ones that you've gone through recently and how you've overcome them?
Oh, dude, so many. So like, it was definitely a person. Like, I would just see all these other successful kids, and I'm like, dude, some of these clients are having the most insane transitions or transformations. Like, am I good as them? Do I even know what I'm doing? Like, what qualifies me to help these people? And you just have to believe that, like, you have to believe in what you're selling. You know what I mean? Because if you don't believe in what you're selling, then how do you expect someone else to believe that you can get them the results that they're looking for? And yeah, man, like just really like, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, dude, comparison is fucking brutal. Like, and
Yeah.
I don't think it ever goes away. Especially, and I don't mean to do this in our program. I know in our program we have a ton of different coaches, and I always say everybody has their time to shine. And so one week one coach will kill it while one coach is really struggling, and then next week it's vice versa. But if you're that coach on the opposite end of the spectrum that's like not having a good week, and you see all these coaches killing it, you're like, fuck, like, am I out? Am I down and out? Like, what's happening? And that can be really tough. But it's very, very important for you to really stay on your own journey and on your own path, and know that your time comes and goes. And when it comes, you got to capitalize it. And when it goes, you have to minimize that shit as much as possible. So that's that's something that I know a lot of people struggle with too. So
Yeah,
I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, actually, you're right. The whole comparison thing has been brutal. Like you see, even like comparing myself to other people with, people killing it, while others aren't. And if you're on the the lower end, if you're in that valley and not up on a peak, you're like, what am I doing wrong? Maybe my systems are flawed, X, Y, and Z. You start doubting yourself. But like you always say, there's valleys and there's peaks, and you just got to keep going, even on those low ends, and again, believing in yourself that you can do it. Because for me, I hit that one really big valley, like we were talking to Ross Johnson. He was like, if you were in like more than a 14-day valley point in your business, then you might be in an actual rut, and you might need to change. And so I hit like 15 clients, and in my mind, oh my God, this is it. I hit like a really big struggle. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And out of nowhere, like boom. Then the whole next week, I just kept going, kept doing my thing, even though I started doubting myself. And then the next week, I just blew up. And when it rains, it pours, dude. I ended up signing like 8 clients that week.
Yeah, that was insane. I actually remember that. You went, specifically what happened is you went like the first 2 weeks of February without signing a single client. And
Yeah.
I think what happened is like you got not shaken up, but you definitely got like a little shaken to where you're like, okay, I need to change some things around. What ended up happening is you changed some things around, deviated from the process of signing clients, ended up not working. You went back to the original process, and then you hit 10K in the last 2 weeks of February, which is you hit 5K in one day, which is insane. And then I did 5K at the or 10K at the end of February. But yeah, dude, I wanted to talk about your daily routine as a business owner, because I know that finding a schedule for you was something that was difficult in the beginning. Like you just didn't really have a structure. So what does your daily routine look like now that you have been a business owner for 3 months? What does that look like?
So I am a creature of habit and routine. I guess, that probably comes from the military. That's one of the good things that it's given me. And so I wake up at 5 a.m. and I take about 45 minutes to myself to kind of just wake up, have my morning coffee, do my hygiene, brush my teeth, whatever, all that stuff. And then while I have coffee, I listen to a morning mindset podcast. And just to get myself in a better mindset throughout the day, and then kind of tackle this ambitious attitude. And then after that, I start content creating because for some reason I'm just more creative in the morning. My juices are gone. So I'll show up on my Facebook or my Instagram and Facebook stories. I'll create my IG post for the day. Sometimes I'll go on Canva and I'll do something fancy with some other story posts to attract people. And after that, it's straight into lead gen. So DM outreach for anywhere from 2 to 3 hours. And then after that, midday, I have a break to go to the gym. And when I come back from the gym, meal, and then the afternoons is when I'm more awake and alert. And I want to be social, so that's when I take all my sales calls, my check-ins, and stuff like that. And that's been going really well for me. Some days, I try to adhere to a 7 p.m. cutoff, and I guess sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. Because there are days, I guess, where I just feel I need to do more, I need to do this, or I need to do that. But I do realize that the more that I do adhere to the 7 p.m. cutoff and have time for myself to decompress everything, the more I can come back the next day kind of rejuvenated, refreshed, and wanting to tackle the day.
Nice. I really love the cutoff time, dude. That's something that I've implemented as well. After 7 o'clock, I'm watching movies. I'm on TikTok. I'm gonna give myself that time to kind of screw around. I think it's really, really important because, dude, even when we're working 9 to 5 jobs, there's a reason why we don't work 24/7. We do need time and space. I think as entrepreneurs, it can be very difficult to remember that taking time away can actually be productive. So that's cool that you learned how to do that. But if you were to chalk things up, to 1 or 2 daily tasks that you do that move your business forward, what do you think are the most important things that you do daily that helps your business grow or that moves the needle forward?
In terms of like monetary value or just in terms of like the business as a whole?
Let's just say both.
Okay, so definitely allocating that time and sticking to the 2 to 4 hours for lead generation is like a necessity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I always say you can't rely on inbound leads, especially when you have a smaller following. You need to go out there, you need to connect with people, you need to be in their face. You need to go and knock on their door and say, hey, like spark up a conversation. Because even if they don't bite right now, if you continue to follow up with them later on, you never know, they could be a client down the road. So having that consistent kind of like showing face to people is clutch for getting your income up. And I think I forgot to mention that after the DM outreach, I have like a 1 or 2 hour window where I kind of allocate to working on my business before the gyms. That would be, like refining systems, maybe, coming up with a new course, coming up with, a new, more advanced workout program, or, like free meals, fees to add to our email list. All that stuff is a necessity because you can't constantly be working in your business. Otherwise, the business as a whole will never grow. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Big two.
Awesome, dude. Awesome. Well, we're kind of cutting short on time here. We'll start to wrap things up with a few last questions. Honestly, I have so many more questions for you, so maybe we'll do another call some other time. But just to wrap things up, I remember that there was a point in time where, before we were working together, you kind of had a really good start, but then, I showed you a couple of things on the back end, kind of taught you how a business worked, and you were like, dude, the way that I see business now is completely different than how I thought it was before, and you kind of understood the system and the machine. So I kind of wanted to ask you, what was your perception of a business before joining the Personal Trainers Business Incubator, and how has that changed now that you've successfully built your business up to over 10K a month?
It's completely different, man. I used to think, I guess like it had a lot to do with limiting beliefs. So like when I would look at a business, I'd be like, all right, I need to advertise and I need to get, my package right. And just like, I would think of like all these like random things, like individual things, rather than looking at it as like one cohesive unit, like all these things working together. So what I mean by that is like, your sales system, your marketing system, your lead gen system, all that like, flows from one to the other instead of just looking at them as like individual things that I need to work on and just grow themselves. So when I look at my business now, because it comes up, I look at how I can always improve and which areas are the most lagging, because again, since everything kind of works in a synergistic effect, I just want everything to be like on equal status. So like, let's just say, my sales process is killing it, which it is right now, thanks to my sales presentation.
Okay.
But like my lead gen system is lagging, and I'm not getting the leads I need to like be able to close them in my awesome sales process. We'll be like, okay, well, obviously that's an area that I need to work on, my lead gen. And so I start figuring out ways to improve that, because as you know, an entrepreneur is just like a problem solver. Even like with our deliverables and like what we're selling is like, we see a problem that people have and we come up with a solution and package it as such in like a nice pretty wrapper, and we're like, here dude, I can help you achieve this by doing this for you. And so you just got to think of it like that. You got to be a problem solver, and like when you hit obstacles and stuff like that, you can't just think like, oh shit, oh here, perfect. I always quote this. So one of my idols is Seth Feroce. I think he has the most incredible attitude and work ethic ever. And one of his main quotes is, he says, I don't have problems, just more work to do. And thinking about life in that aspect is like literally revolutionized the way that I look at just anything, not even just business, So it's really just like your perception on everything.
Oh yeah, dude. I love that. I love that. And I think that's really cool that you kind of painted that picture, because I do the same thing with my back end too. It's like, okay, you look at the machine and there's different components of the machine and they all work together, but you're only as strong as your weakest link. And so you can then identify, okay, what systems are doing really well versus the systems that aren't doing so well. And let me focus on that and improve it. and then the entire machine is just 1% better, and then you go on to the next weakest link, and you just repeat that process over and over again until the business is doing 20, 30, 40, 50, 100K per month, and it never ends. So that's really cool that you painted that picture, man. But I got a couple more questions for you. These are a little bit more personal.
Okay.
Just kind of wanted to learn, see what you've learned about yourself since becoming a business owner. So like not the monetary, not the business, but about yourself. What's changed in you since becoming a business owner or working for yourself full time?
That I'm fully capable of doing whatever I put my mind to, which goes. I always had doubts, like, maybe you think like, oh, maybe I'm not like the business type person, you know what I mean? Like, because when you're younger, you kind of categorized into your strengths, like that person's a jock, he's good at sports, or that person's this because he's good at that, he's good at the cello, so he's a musician, and you might not really know like what you're really good at. And so of course I had doubts of starting my own business because I was just like, maybe I'm just a business type person. I just committed, and I put in work, and I kept my head down, did my best not to compare, and I learned of like what we're really capable of, and like breaking through those limiting beliefs, just like even with fitness again. Once you do that, dude, like the sky's the limit for anyone. Because anyone can really do this if this is something that they truly want to do. That, and probably just realizing how important mentality shifts are with everything. So you like, as a fitness coach, I used to think like, all right, you need to do a mental shift to step into that new lifestyle. But for everything, it's like you need the proper mindset, state, and shift for every aspect of life. When it comes to business, stepping into that CEO power, wearing all those different hats, with relationships even, dude, because like part of being a business owner is like you got to network, you got to meet people so that you can grow and expand. And yeah, man, just really that. It's crazy how much you learn about yourself when going through trying and difficult times. You really figure out what your true colors are.
Nice. I love that, man. And so one final question, man. How do you feel like what you've learned about yourself and what you've learned on this journey, how does that carry over into other areas of your life?
I think I go into everything with a newfound confidence now. Again, kind of like fitness.
Yeah.
I believe in myself a lot more, and some of the things that I used to like, let's just say, I used to have dreams like, I'm going to be, bajillionaire. I'm going to have all these super nice cars and a beautiful house and everything like that. And the more that I grow my business, start to earn, and I start to believe in myself, the more that it's shifting from a dream to like, just like 100% a vision. It's not a matter of like, if it's going to happen for me anymore. It's just a matter of when. And that's, I think, one of the biggest like pivotal shifts I've had is like, I don't dreams anymore. I have visions.
Nice, dude. That's actually something that I think is really, really important too. I think one of the biggest shifts that I made in my personal journey when I finally started making money in my business a few years ago, my mind went from a scarcity fear mindset of like, how am I going to pay the bills next month, or how am I going to afford rent, to what do I actually want to do in the world? Like, if I had no limits whatsoever, what would I actually do? Should I buy the Mercedes? Do I live in the penthouse? Do I travel? Do I, do all these things? Like, it went from going like, how can I make it by, to what do I actually want to do? And that right there was like the most important shift that I think having that confidence that you were talking about allows you to have. So really love that, man. And I really appreciate you taking the time to hop on this. Jen saying sexy man. I don't know if she's talking about you or me, but I'll assume she's talking about us both. But one last question, Nick. What goals do you have for 2021? What's the game plan for you? And this could be personal. This could be in your business. This could be, anything.
That's so funny that you said that. So for business-wise, and I just talked about that. He's like, because we were just literally this morning before we even hopped on here, we were just like, dude, how far we've come in such a short amount of time. He's like, imagine a year. And like I told him, I was like, dude, this is what I see. I see one coach for every branch of the military, so Army, Navy, Marines, and Air Force. And I see two full-time VAs for each of us. I definitely see us like well above the 100K range, like multiple figures. And you know, I just see us serving many active duty and veterans. And what's really crazy about that is like the impact that it's going to have on their lives, because military is a thing, and you know, suicide is actually becoming more and more prevalent. And if we have an impact on someone's more overall, you know, like wellness and quality of life, we can potentially say, like, this is on the very extreme end, of course, but we can potentially save this person from attempting or actually committing suicide. And like that in itself is such a rewarding feeling. So that's like a goal, just to try and change as many lives as possible. For sure, statistically speaking, we're going to get a few people that, like, you know, are on the edge or have had thoughts like that. So business-wise, that's my goals for business. And then obviously personal, IFBB Pro Card and Class Physique towards the end of the year. And really to just enjoy the shit out of life, because I've had it like so restricted and limited for me. And yeah, dude, I want to live life to the fullest, you know, take vacations with my friends, enjoy all that. And it's all possible because I am a business owner now, and I have my own time. Everything is dictated by me. So it's a blessing, dude.
Awesome, man. I love that. And I can't wait to see you grow even further, brother. So appreciate you hopping on. We can go ahead and end this. If you wanted to exit out or boot out, that's totally fine. But I'm going to wrap things up. Nick, thank you so much again.
Thanks.
Of course, man. Of course. For anybody who – what was that? Okay, cool. For anybody who's still here, if you guys just joined in, you guys weren't able to catch the whole live, this will be posted as a replay on my page, so you can go back and catch anything that we talked about. Really just talking about the transition from, you know, working full-time for someone else to working full-time for yourself. Also, too, if you guys, I just started reading this book called Psychology of Money. I cannot get enough of it. If you guys want to be rich, you guys want to be successful, and you guys want to start that journey, definitely recommend reading that one, because so far it's just been mind-blowing and amazing. So with that being said, guys, hope everyone has a good week.